Hello, grade 7 students. In this video, we're going to talk about green plants and we'll move to part 3. As a summary for the green plants, we said that the green plants are the plants that contain the green chlorophyll. That's why they are called the chlorophyllc plants because they contain this chlorophyll, which is a pigment in the green plant that absorbs the sunlight. As a conclusion, we said the green plant they need four nutritive needs. They need water, they need mineral salts, carbon dioxide, CO2, and light in order to grow well, tall, and green. Let's move now to the green plants and water. In this experiment, we're going to observe 3 tubes, and after this, we're going to answer some questions. We have 3 tubes, tube A, tube B, and tube C. All the tubes, they contain water and also they contain the clay that's used to cover the water, not to evaporate the water due to the sunlight. Tube A contains no plants. 2 days later, the level of water, it remains the same. This tube A is said to be the control tube. It's similar to the control tube we used in the digestion. Control tube is used to compare and to explain the different experimental results. In tube B and tube C, both of them they have plant. In tube B we have a plant containing stem, which is this part, and containing the roots, which is this part. After 2 days, the level of water drops to a lower level as shown here. While in tube C, the plant contains leaves but containing a stem without roots, so no roots. So this is the difference between tube B and tube C. This is the variable factor. Here we have roots, here we have no roots. After 2 days, the level of water, it remains the same. So in this experiment, we can say that the plant absorbs water. But which part exactly? The roots. Since in tube B, when we have roots, the level of water drops to lower level. While in tube C, with no roots, the level of water, it remains the same. So no absorption of water. These plants, as you note, all of them, they are identical. All of them, they are similar to each other. Compare tube A to tube B at the beginning of the experiment. What is the role of tube A? So first, compare tube A to tube B. Tube A contains no plant, while tube B contains a plant. Role of tube A, we said that it's a control tube used to compare and explain the different experimental results. Compare the level of water in tubes A and B at the end of the experiment. Tube A, the level of water, it remains the same. Why? No plant. While tube B, it drops to a lower level. So what can you conclude from the experiment? In tubes A and B, we can conclude that the green plant, they absorb water. So as I said, both tubes, they are containing water and they are covered by clay. Tube A doesn't contain a plant while tube B contains a plant. Tube A is a control tube used to compare and explain the experimental results. Level of water in tube A without a plant remains the same, while with a plant it drops to a lower level. What may you conclude from this experiment? Green plants absorb water. What is the variable between tube C and B? Variable, that is the root. We have root in tube B and there is no root in tube C. Compare the level of water in tube B to that in tube C at the beginning of the experiment. No, at the end of the experiment. You have to compare since at the beginning they are the same. Level of water in tube C where the plant doesn't have roots. So this is the variable factor. The level of water, it remains the same. While in tube B, the plant has root dipped in water. So the level drops to a lower level. So level of water, it drops. So what can you deduce about the structure responsible for the water absorption? It's the roots. So the roots, they are the part, the structure responsible for the water absorption in green plants. Which part of the root absorb the water? The root cap or the root hairs or even both of them? What do you think? Let's we have this experiment. This experiment will help us to determine which part of the root hair or the root cap, is responsible for the absorption of water. So in this plant, we have plant 1. We have first, this plant was placed in test tube where both test tubes 1 and 2, they contain oil and water. The first plant where the root hairs and the root cap, this is the root cap, and the root hairs, both of them, they are placed in water. However, in plant 2, the root hairs, they are in oil, but the root cap here, it's in the water. Plant 1, where the root hairs and the root cap, they are in water, it grows normally. However, plant 2, where the root hairs, they are inside the oil and the root cap in water, it dies. So from this, we can deduce first, what is the variable factor? The part of the root, whether the root cap or the root hair, placed in water. Here, root cap and root hair, both in water, it grows. But here only in plant 2, the root cap in water, it dies. So the root cap is not responsible for the absorption of water. Which part? They are the root hairs. Indicate the variable factor in this experiment. Distinguish the conditions to which both plants are exposed. Analyze the obtained results. Draw out a conclusion. Variable factor is the part of the root, whether the root hair or the root cap, it's dipped in water. Conditions. Plant 1, the root hairs and the root cap, both of them, they are dipped in water. They are placed in water. Use the word dipped. While in plant 2, the root hairs, they are in oil and the root cap is dipped in water. Analysis. So after dipping the root hairs and root cap in water, the green plant, it grows. While after dipping the root hairs in oil and the root cap in water, it dies, withers and dies. So the root cap is not responsible for the absorption of water. Which part? The root hairs. They are the part in the root that are responsible for the absorption of water in green plants. So you have to know from now on, root hairs, they are responsible for the absorption of water in green plants. This is the part that is responsible for the water absorption, not the whole root, unless we have the root hairs. So from now on, the root hairs, they are responsible for the absorption of water.